you mentioned that this was a policy, at least the policy of taxes stemming from perhaps the fire and Nero that Rome engaged in throughout the different provinces. Do we see instances of revolts against Rome during this period before or after? And were they similar to the Jewish revolt?
There were revolts. There was a kind of revolt more or less on the border between the Roman provinces and what they call Germania or Germany in 9 CE. So right at the beginning of the period I was talking about before. And in fact, that revolt led to the Romans sort of pulling back from an extended intrusion into what is today Germany. And then there was another revolt in just around the time of the Jewish revolt in 60-61 in Britain. There was a revolt led by a woman, in fact, named Boudica, who belonged to a tribe called the Iceni. But it was a very short revolt. It was squashed very, very quickly. So I think, in fact, that the Jewish revolt was qualitatively different. It lasted much longer. The resources that were brought to bear by both sides were on a different scale from anything else that we know about. But the most important thing, and what I would really stress, is that this revolt from 66 to 73 or 74, for at least some of the people who were involved in it, was a nationalist revolt, a serious attempt to, in some sense, leave the Roman Empire. And it's a topic for a different time and a different discussion. But the reality is that the Jews in this area that we're talking about were the only people to revolt repeatedly from Roman rule. And the historians have posed different explanations for why that was the case. I'm sort of on the side of those who think that it must have something to do with the fact that of all the people that the Romans kind of encountered during their centuries-long effort to both gain and keep dominion over people in the Roman world, they were the only ones who had a book, as it were, of their own that was written in their own language that was both kind of a cosmogony, but also was a national history. So they were different, as it were, from everybody else. It wasn't really, it's hard to find a huge amount of evidence for what we would call anti-Semitism or anti-Jew or anti-Judaism among Romans, but the Romans were sticklers about what they called quies or peace, and also paying taxes. So those were kind of the pressure points between the two sides.